citizens of Singapore. Pledge ourselves as one united people. Regardless of race, language or religion. To build a democratic society. Based on justice and equality. So as to achieve happiness, prosperity, and progress for our nation.
Do you want to define privilege?
Oh
Since
dear.
you use the term so much. May as well have a clip to define
Oh my
it.
gosh, privilege. This is such a loaded word. I don't know where to begin, but like I would say that privilege is the suite of benefits that a person automatically receives from being from having a certain like identity tag. How do I say that? Like like for example, if you're male in a society that has patriarchal tendencies. I don't even know which society doesn't, but there are probably societies that don't. But you know what I mean. For example, if let's say male privilege, if you're male, you're born into it. You automatically receive this suite of benefits from the moment you are born, and you're growing up, even at the age of 8 or 9, you are treated very differently whether you're a boy or girl. I see this in my own house, and if after dinner all of us have eaten and the dishes stay unwashed in the sink, only my sister gets scolded.
Right.
Because that's her job, and none of us. I didn't earn this privilege to not have to wash dishes. It is therefore to me a set of benefits that you receive just because you are of a certain identity, and that is in turn because of an culturally institutionalized set of beliefs.
In JC, I had a friend who told me that I was her first ever Malay friend, and I thought that was quite sad because the whole point of our school systems and housing and stuff is so that we have mixing of some sort, that you are able to really connect with people of other races that you wouldn't usually. But for her to tell me that I was her first Malay friend, and then for her to tell one of our mutual friends that she was her first Indian friend, I thought that was also a form of Chinese privilege, because she had the space to be with people who were just like her, in terms of culture and also socio-economic class and that kind of stuff. So she was very comfortable in that space, and then her meeting me and trying to understand more about Malay people in general, it was a bit weird, because you mean you've never spoken to a Malay person in your life before, ever? Can you tell the difference between Malay people, Indian people? I mean, not that that should be a big deal, but I feel like you shouldn't go up to people and be like, "Are you Malay?" It's just really awkward.
The one thing I like about VS, VS has been responsible for a lot of my development as a person. So the brotherhood, the sense of camaraderie is there in VS. It doesn't matter whether you're Malay or Chinese or Indian. I mean, it was essentially what we wanted to achieve, I think, in Singapore. I mean, the idea of an accepting, tolerable culture of acceptance. I mean, it was there in VS. When I got to VJ, though, I mean, the statistics are there. Not many Malays actually go to JCs. Okay. Even less so for top tier JCs like Victoria Junior College. Okay. So essentially, in terms of racism or perceived racism, I can honestly say that it's not so well defined in VJ itself. But the fact that each time you meet new friends, you have to constantly explain your identity. You have to constantly sort of explain your traditions, your cultures, and sort of correct certain misconceptions you have to almost every person that you meet.
So what are some of the things that you have to keep correcting?
Like what being Malay would mean, as in the fact that we are more than just a race or religion, or what our traditions would be. And to correct the fact, to sort of address the statistical issue of Malays being more prone to drugs or more prone to certain acts of violence, certain things that they have like broached about, and how we are catching up in that sense, how we are responsible for, not responsible per se, but how we seem to be overly represented in this sort of statistics. And these classmates of mine usually ask, why? But you can't give an answer of why. I mean, you can't be responsible for why, right? So, that's kind of things we have to negotiate. I had to negotiate in VJ.
Okay.
It wasn't there in VS because I think VS was more easygoing. Yeah. By and large, the large majority came from SAP schools. There were increased presence of them. So in terms of interactions, that the times we have to explain my identity and explain my culture and my relationships with the larger Singapore in terms of my identity and stuff like that. It's more of like towards these students from SAP schools who I don't have no idea what they learn in school actually. Instead of questioning and I'm wondering why this sort of misinformation or this sort of misunderstandings come to play.
I think I'm lucky that I went to a pretty liberal primary school and secondary school, but there was the times that I felt that I was really different and I tried quite hard to fit in. Like there was certain so basically in primary school I heard lots of, because I'm mix of Malay and Indian, like what happened was I heard things about Indians being really smelly and quite nasty things about them, so I always told people that I was Malay. And when I'm writing my name down, I shorten my name because like the last few words in my surname, they are my like Indian names, so like I didn't want to make it known that I was Indian. So I don't know, like it wasn't, these things were very subtle, like it wasn't like outright bullying. I never really felt that I was bullied in primary school, but it was just like the subconscious, I had to be something that was not me. But I guess everyone feels that, but it's just, so I guess you can make of it what you will. And the bullying started in secondary school, but it was more of like hearing racist jokes and actually thinking that these jokes are funny and telling these jokes to other people yourself. I guess it's like being the joke is much better than not being part of it or not being part of the group.
Wow, growing up as a Malay person in schools in Singapore, it's also like a bit weird because of the many like jokes that people make, both with and without malicious intent. So like those like without malicious intent are like like where you going to go after class, sit one corner, is it? Like things like that, or and as I grow older, it's more like like do you smoke? Malays always smoke, this kind of thing. It's not malicious, but like it's not funny also, like, and the thing is like I always felt the pressure of growing up to laugh along, because if I didn't laugh along, it felt like I was breaking some sort of like, it's like, how do I put it? It's like I feel like I'm supposed to laugh on cue because everyone else is laughing.
Right.
So it was very stressful because let's say if I didn't laugh, like it would bring up that tension, that I actually don't think is funny. So I like for many years I'll just like pretend to laugh.
I think because I was in girls' school, so we were changing in class after PE, and it's like your friends, your classmates would just say stuff like, hey, how come you're not wearing any bra? Because I was wearing a black sports bra. So it was just like, I don't know, that was one of the few jokes that really hurt me, I guess. Yeah, even though I've internalized it quite a bit. In the later part of my school life, it was more of like worrying. Like until now, I still worry that I play too many outdoor sports and then I'll get darker than I actually am. And I have this like thing where I keep looking at my not tanned skin because that is kind of reminiscent of my Malay-ish side, you know, like as in you just, I don't know, like sometimes I feel like I want to be Indian because people say Malays are stupid, and then sometimes I feel like I want to be Malay because people say Indians are smelly or shit. Sorry.
By the time I was in secondary school, I was harboring these thoughts of like, oh, I wish I was Chinese, you know, like I just wish I was Chinese. Of course, it's different now. Yeah, and tied to that, actually, like something which is like quite inextricable from being a Malay person is also your Muslim identity. So just like how people had jokes for Malay people, they had jokes for Muslim people also, and they had like very weird ways of like interacting with you just on the basis of your Muslim identity. So like the jokes would be like, you know, like, oh, you know, you know how to make bomb, right? All the Muslims know how to make bomb, and I just felt so like, wow, like this is actually very hard to swallow. But like just like I explained earlier about the Malay jokes, I would feel this pressure to laugh a lot, or else I will be like, or else I'll stand out, you know, as this kid who like can't take a joke, but it's not just a joke.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard. Like I can't make jokes about Chinese people because once I like turn the tables and make jokes about Chinese people, it's a different game. It definitely won't be like funny to them.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, what, like, I bet they'll just react like, what do you say, you little bitch? You know? Yeah, versus like a group of Chinese people making a joke about me, which is totally different. It's not easy. So I had them, like, school life was like many years of trying to fit in, trying to not be that kid that, you know, couldn't take a joke, even though it was more than just a joke. So like, yeah, going back to the Muslim thing. So yeah, it's quite sad because I felt that like it's not just me now that you are painting as a terrorist. You're painting my whole family as a terrorist. You're painting my sweet grandmother who like gives cake to like foreign workers who are cleaning the block, cleaning the space outside the flat. You're painting like people like these who I like actually happen to love as terrorists, as people who want to kill other people.
I don't know actually. I mean, what people around me always say is that, yeah, you know, but you don't have people shooting minorities here. And I'm like, yeah, because we have like literally no guns. Like, yeah, okay, whatever. But as in, their point is just that it's way worse in other countries, so we should be grateful.
But the fact that each time you have to explain yourself, each time you're seen as a representative of your own race, you know, compared to a random Chinese person who isn't seen as a representative. I mean, everything that you do as a person reflects on your Malayness and your sort of responsibility to the community, which the burden is a bit too hard to bear in some sense.
It sounds very...
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a challenge because each time you're last in class, which I was, I mean, you're like, it's kind of sucks. But I didn't end up being last in class at the end. I got to, you know, I was end up the better ones after A-levels. Yeah.
Right.
So other than that, I think it's just this whole burden that's placed on people who tend to be more successful, especially the Malays who manage to break that barrier. They encounter the next barrier, which is competing on that so-called level playing field that people seem to think those in this sort of higher education seem to have. Yeah, there's no.
You mean at university?
Yeah, university is another barrier, but I won't say it as a barrier per se. I think it was more insidious in JC because that's where you start to develop your whole sense of worldviews and your whole understandings of how you interact with society. Yeah,
And I think my first introduction to racism in school, or not really sticking out as a non-Chinese person, was in JC, and that was really hard because a lot of people were asking me things like, "Oh, kids, do you get your school tuition for free or something?" And I'm like,
Okay.
"No, as far as I know, I pay for my tuition. I pay for my school fees." And I feel and I'm like, didn't that like policy kind of go out a couple of years ago or something like that, right?
Okay.
Yeah, stuff like that. ACJC, I think the hardest, the one where I really felt it the most was when I was dating a Chinese guy, and that was really hard because, that relationship lasted maybe like 3 months, was it? Yeah, but 3 months, and throughout the 3 months, it was basically just people telling him like, "Oh, you know she's Malay, right? You know that if you guys get married, you can't eat pork, right?" And I'm just like, if that is the foundation, like if like the prerequisite for you to marry someone is that they can let you eat pork, then like clearly you have to sort out your priorities in life, because it's ridiculous to me. And I honestly didn't see how being Malay made me any different from them just because I couldn't eat, like religiously I couldn't eat pork. It wasn't that I was going to really marry you in any case because I knew that wouldn't work out. But it was just like the pressure that he felt to not date a Malay girl was really like shocking to me. And I think that's part of the main reason why we broke up like eventually. Yeah.
Like there was one time when I was in hall and I was talking to this guy who said that he just made himself out to be like really open-minded and stuff. So we were talking about interracial dating, and then I don't know why as a minority I always felt like I needed the approval of the majority. I mean, more of like, I don't know, just so yeah. So basically I was just talking to him and he was telling me how he would never date a Malay or Indian because they had different cultures. Like and I was him being a really educated, smart, pol science student. I didn't really understand what he meant, because he should know that culture itself is, I mean, it doesn't mean anything actually. Like, you can't just say that Malays and Indians are the same because they have the same culture. They're not like monolithic, you know.
Funny thing is that I also have some Chinese blood actually. My grandmother is Teochew. But I've had these reactions, okay, like, so when I like, I forgot to mention this, like, when I found out that my grandmother is Chinese, I felt this like pressure to like let people know like, hey, I actually have Chinese blood, like, you know, as in like thinking back in retrospect, like I realized that I was doing that because I felt, oh, this is like a card like for me to get in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I actually have some Chinese blood, you know, it's kind of one of you guys. And I think that kind of like tells you how much Chinese privilege does affect you as a non-Chinese. Like you really just don't want to have this life where you're just like the other. Yeah.
To be honest, I never really thought about Chinese privilege. I just thought that I would just isolate incidents of racism to them being like douchey. Yeah. So I only started thinking about it when I read this article on Chinese privilege, and I was like, is this what it's called? Yeah. So I didn't really know how to define it. I didn't really know the instances of Chinese privilege and like how you can differentiate someone just being a real asshole to someone exercising their privilege over the others. But there was one time when my friend was telling me about her friend. She said that because basically she met someone when she was on exchange, and she wanted to fly off and like settle down in the country that he was based in, and she was talking to her friend about it, and her friend was like, yeah, but why would you want to go somewhere else and be a second class citizen? I mean, like, I'm Chinese, I have a degree, and I'm male, so why should I ever move? Yeah. So when I heard that, I mean, it's one thing to be aware of your privilege, but it's another to kind of like be proud of it, and not seek to, I don't know. I mean, are you supposed to do anything about privilege? I really don't know. Like, yeah, but so I feel that people are aware about it. I feel that people know. Maybe they don't know like the definitive like terms or whatever the terms of Chinese privilege, but they know what it feels like. They kind of probably have experienced it. For Chinese themselves, I think they have experienced it. But yeah, so I think it's more relatable than we think it is. Like yeah, we just don't know how to define it. We just don't know, like, we haven't read much about it. We haven't been exposed to instances where people call out Chinese privilege when they see it. Yeah, it's crazy. I think we just accept it as a fact of existence.
Some reactions that I've had when I tell them that I have Chinese blood include, really meh, cannot be, you're so dark. That's one thing. Secondly, it's like, don't lie lah. It's like, and it's very annoying, and I feel very insulted, because it's just like, in feminism, like you like, a woman is very insulted when a man like tries to tell her something she knows more than him. You know what I mean? Like there's no such thing as rape culture. Like, don't make this shit up. It's like the same feel. Maybe like the scale is different, but the point is that it's the same feeling. Because like when people tell me like that I don't know my own heritage, it's like kind of stupid, because I'm the one that knows my own heritage best. It's quite stupid to tell me that no, you're wrong, you don't have Chinese blood. It's like, it's so stupid. And like it also shows you something about this like the hegemony of Chinese privilege. Like, you don't. It's like a club, and you don't just let anyone in. You know what I mean? Like if let's say a dark-skinned person tries to like lay claim to Chinese privilege, like, in the theoretical sense, yeah, it's not easy to swallow.
The kind of things that, like I mentioned, the kind of things that you expect, in terms of living in multiracial, multi-ethnic Singapore, you expect a level of understanding that people have. But when you do talk to certain people within like your lessons or your courses, there's a certain aura of ignorance into how people perceive your culture, how people perceive your identity as a Malay person. Yeah, I think maybe that's inevitable, seeing that, if I think of it the other way around, I mean, if I were Chinese, like, why would I bother? I'm majority anyway, so why do I have to bother? So I can't really blame them, but at the same time, you can't help but wonder, if all this multi-racial narrative that we're throwing out, are we sort of lying to ourselves now? Yeah.
It's very hard for me not to be angry about these things, basically, and it makes it hard for me to not feel disenfranchised in a place that I'm supposed to be a part of, that I'm supposed to feel is also my own. And I think that we should also stop hiding under the veil of racial harmony. Not to say that we don't have it. It's more of when a minority talks about their experiences, the negative experiences, it's always very easy to silence those, because no, we have racial harmony. What you all have, like, your space, we celebrate your festivals and that kind of stuff. But people need to recognize that it's still very superficial on some level. Like, having racial harmony day in school, just because you wear a baju kurung or sari does not mean that you understand what it feels like to be a person of that identity, or how it feels, or what the significance of these particular costumes mean to me as a person. So I think having to go deeper than just this superficial presentation that we seem to do a lot.
This is what I think, because I do see some hope in our current generation. The very fact that we are having this conversation is very hopeful in itself.
Right.
The very fact that there are a lot of like supporters of pages like yours is also there's a lot of hope in that. I'm actually very glad to say that the racist individuals are actually more of the exception nowadays, rather than like the norm. Like, you know, it's not like primary school anymore where like racist jokes are like the bread and butter of your conversation like 80% of the time. Yeah, so it's very different now, and like a lot to be angry about, but you know, for like a non-Chinese, I feel there's a lot to be angry about. But I know it's super cheesy, but like who you are, you find who you are like in between the space of reaction and action. And I think that it's really up to all of us, it's so cheesy, up to all of us, like, you know, Chinese or not, to actually like think twice before you speak and act. Think about the privilege you have, etc. Yeah, and this goes beyond race. This, you know, male privilege, socio-economic privilege, so many forms.
Could we really be equal in a sense that, you know, one day everyone would be open to dating anyone, or like you just don't see color? I mean, I don't know. I think it'll be really long before Singapore gets there. Really, really long. Because from what I know, we are trying to deny that a lot of this is happening. Yeah, we're not. I mean, if you deny it, then you can't even get anywhere because you deny it's happening. So, like in your head, there's no problem. So there's nothing to solve. So, I think people are happy with the way things are, because to them it's like if there's nothing that's spoiled, then there's nothing to fix. I mean, if it's working well, there's nothing